What's up, Madridistas? Sorry for not uploading sooner. This is the month of Ramadan, so I'm fasting from sunrise to sundown. So I have very little time to be able to upload videos, but let's quickly go through the things that we learned from this match. First of all, winning this game at home 2-1 was a positive result, but honestly, we needed that 2-goal cushion. And if you just look at the overall body language of the players, both from our side and from the Atleti side, we wanted that third goal, whereas they were content to have the game end at 2-1 and go back to their ground. If you look at the way we played overall, the way we generated those chances, you cannot look at that game and say to yourself, Real Madrid performed well, they created chances. But what it really was, it came down to two individual moments of brilliance from Real Madrid, which is often the case. So many times where we've won in the Champions League, we haven't played that well. But it's always been an individual moment of brilliance from one of our key players. Now, let's quickly start with talking about Brahim Diaz, because what an amazing performance from him. And not just with the goal, but just overall his pressing. There was a few instances where he pressed the ball, he won the ball high up the pitch, he combined well, he did a lot of work off the ball. He deserves so much recognition for that performance, and he easily could have been the player of the match, but you could have given it to Rodrigo or him. But you can tell that the hunger that he had to score in this game, I remember Guillaume Bellingham said after the game that he was surrounded by 5 players. The fact that he was able to pull that off is truly spectacular. But who didn't play spectacularly was Vinicius and Mbappe. Let's quickly talk about Mbappe, because if I took a compilation of Kylian's worst games since he joined at Real Madrid, he has performed poorly throughout the entire game. You know, there's players out there that even when they're not having their best game, they're still making good decisions, they're still linking up play well, they're still helping the team, they're still pressing, they're still working hard. But when Kylian is not playing well, he's a liability almost to the side. Now, if I take a compilation of those worst games, like for example the game against Liverpool, I mean, he was so poor, so terrible. The game against Athletic Club, and of course this game. It's just his overall body language and lack of his appetite to press the ball whatsoever could really be disappointing, because that goal that we should have scored towards the end, it actually came from a sequence where he was pressing the ball. So you can see the impact that pressing the ball can have on your team. And again, I'm not sitting here saying Kylian is not a world-class player, because clearly he is, but even if you're looking at PSG now, if any of you guys watched the game against Liverpool today, they were spectacular. They played Liverpool off the pitch, but they all pressed succinctly. Every single time Liverpool had the ball, the PSG players were closing them down. And I just think how much better as a unit they've become without Kylian. But in front of goal, they're not scoring because they don't have his world-class finishing. So it's a double-edged sword. But if he could just step up a little bit of that pressing and defensive work without the ball, the team would be so much better off. And I can't help but feel like this type of attitude that Kylian has, it rubs off on the other players. Players like Vinicius, because he looks at Kylian, and if you're Vinicius, you think in your mind that you're better than Kylian Mbappe, and why wouldn't you? I mean, it's arguable between the two of them who's better, Kylian or Vinicius. But if I'm Vinicius and I'm sitting there pressing, running, trying to chase the ball down, and I'm looking at Kylian just jogging, I'm going to start jogging myself. So I hope that's something that Carlo Ancelotti can work on. Or if you're going to have Kylian and he's not scoring goals, he's not performing well, then you just simply take him off. Now, the other thing I want to talk about is Camavinga. Camavinga was pretty poor in this game. And obviously, the goal that Julian Alvarez, that he scores, comes from Camavinga trying to press that ball, when in truth, if you're going to press the ball the way he did, as aggressively as he did, you need to win it, or you need to make sure that the guy does not get past you. He opened up that space for Julian Alvarez to have a shot on target, and that was just a really bad decision on his part. Right now, Camavinga is making a lot of bad decisions, not only with ball progression, he's passing the ball when he should be running with it. He also gave up a penalty to Osasuna, and then they ended up winning. So overall, Camavinga right now, I don't know what's going on with him mentally, but he needs to figure that out, because I'm not sure what Carlo Ancelotti is going to do in the return leg. But is Luka Modric a solution to start away at the Metropolitano with Tchouaméni, and a game that's going to be extremely physical with a lot of transition opportunities? The only reason Luka looked as good as he did is because he came on for the last 10-15 minutes of the match, when Real Madrid had more control and Atleti was sitting a lot deeper. But I don't know that I trust Luka Modric to play the full 90 minutes, especially away from home in a game like this. It just doesn't make sense at all. But let's quickly talk about Valverde. Federico Valverde is truly one of the best players in the world, the most complete players in the world. And think about how much better our team was. There's no way we win this game without him playing, simply put. Because not only does he assist that goal, but he also prevents Atleti from scoring 1 or 2 goals. If you have a right back that is as good as Valverde, then you go to another level as a team. Because imagine having him in the midfield and having a guy with that much productivity playing at right back. If he was a proper right back, there's no person in the world that's better than him. I cannot think of a right back in the world that's better than Valverde, even though he's not a right back. But the way he progresses the ball, his tenacity, everything about Valverde, he just improves the team overall. And the assist that he plays to Rodrigo, it made me think of the goal that we scored in the Salzburg game. If you guys remember, Modric plays a ball to Vinicius, which looked very similar to that goal. And that's something I hope Carlo Ancelotti will try to replicate more in the return leg as well, because he's spoken about the need to be more vertical now. But the last thing I'll just say about Valverde is that, a lot of these clubs in England in particular are adopting a box midfield, which means your fullback tucks in and they play almost like a double pivot with your 6. And we see Arsenal do this with Zinchenko. We saw Manchester City do this with Kyle Walker. And that's why if you have a really reliable fullback who's really strong in ball progression, they can tuck in and really lead the charge in progressing the ball forward. And I have to believe that that's what they see from Alexander-Arnold, that that's the kind of role that he could play at the team. But of course, from a defensive perspective, he's not going to give you anywhere near the defensive intensity that Valverde provides you. Now, the good news is that Jude Bellingham is back for the second leg, and he's going to be needed, especially because we know that going into the second leg, and I'm going to do a tactical video before the second leg, but Real Madrid cannot sit in a deep block and invite pressure from Atleti. So we need to do a lot of what we did in this game, which is try to press the ball higher up the pitch, and Jude Bellingham is going to be really key in doing that, because you don't have Sergio Ramos and Maldini. Now, one of the positives I'll just talk about towards the end here is that Carlo Ancelotti, towards the end of the game, went with a more aggressive approach. He brings on Endrick and he tries to go for that third goal. But of course, Kylian takes that extra touch and then we don't score that third goal, which we desperately needed. The second leg will be tight, it will be difficult, but you have to believe that Real Madrid has the players to get across the finish line. And it looks like Arsenal is the next team we'll face if we make it to the quarterfinals. But this game is far from over. Given that we won only 2-1, there's a lot more that's going to happen in the second leg. And I don't think it's going to be so clean as Real Madrid is going to simply go there to the Metropolitano and get a win. This is going to be a very difficult game, potentially even going to extra time. If there's anything that should fill you up with confidence if you're Real Madrid, is that you played very poorly and yet you still won. So if you can put a better performance forward, then maybe you can do a little bit more, especially from an attacking sense. But one thing we do know is that Raul Asensio and Rudiger are definitely your 2 center backs. And the back line definitely has to be Ferland Mendy and Federico Valverde. And the key obviously is to rest Valverde over the weekend so that he is ready and fit for that return leg. Are you guys optimistic that we're going to make it to the quarterfinals and face Arsenal? Let me know what you guys think. Thank you for watching. Hala Madrid.